Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning, and today I've got another interesting shell combo out here today to try. It's one that I kind of forgot about, that kind of got lost in the ammo drawer, but when I saw them the other day, they're definitely a pretty interesting loading, and I think they should do well through today's choke combo, especially based on what we've seen from some of the other versions of them. But as for the shells we've got today, I brought out some of the Salt Creek Cold Turkey Blend shells, but these ones are a 20 gauge, 3-inch, 1 1/4 ounce payload of TSS 9s with lead 6s, moving about 1,200 feet per second. So definitely a pretty interesting combo of lead and TSS like that. Now this load isn't really for everybody. Some people are going to like the idea of it. Some people are just going to prefer a lead or a TSS shell. But we've seen multiple good results out of the 12 gauge version of these, and the one time we tested these 20 gauge version, they did pretty well. And at $26, $27, $28 a box, somewhere right in that range, it's a pretty decent split down the middle between lead and TSS. So we'll see what kind of pattern they can give us through today's choke combo. But as for the setup we're going to run them through, I brought out the Stevens 301 20 gauge, got a 26-inch barrel on it, and for the choke, we've got the Patternmaster Code Black Turkey 565 constriction. 12 gauge version of this shell did really well through a Patternmaster, and that's kind of what Keith from Salt Creek told me that they would probably do well through, is these Patternmaster chokes. These 20 gauge ones did well when we tested them through a 568 Carlson's Longbeard choke, so 565 Patternmaster should be a pretty decent combo. But as for today's test, everything is set up the same as usual. The turkey target is at 40 yards, and I've got the chrono so we can get our velocity. So let's get you guys a view of that target and see how these Salt Creek Cold Turkey Blend 20 gauge shells can actually pattern through this Patternmaster 565. Alright, that shell gave us 1182 through the chrono. Boss claim is 1200, so we're just shy of that number. And from our 26-inch barrel, I'd say that's pretty realistic. So nothing to complain about there. But let's go check out our pattern and see how they actually did with that Patternmaster 565. Alright, so now we're down here at our 40-yard paper, and we definitely saw some interesting results. We absolutely have a dead bird, no question about it. There's a number of them up and down the spine there, both 6s and 9s. So you're going to be hitting them with both pellets, no doubt about it. And we did pattern just a touch low maybe, but still this pattern does give you some leeway to work with. Now right off the bat, this is not a super screaming tight pattern by any means. It's just kind of a more broad area of shot rather than having a super hot core or anything like that. You guys won't be able to tell on the camera, but it is a pretty even spread of both the 6s and the 9s throughout the pattern, so nothing to worry about there. No matter where that bird is, he's going to be getting hit with both pellets. We do kind of have maybe a couple little voids in here. There's one to the top left of that barcode down there on the bottom of that turkey paper, and maybe a couple small ones right below the turkey paper. Other than that, it's kind of just a pretty even mixture of pellets across the paper. Around the edges, we do pick up a few flyers. There's some over there and one up here at the top, and maybe a couple little straggly bits over there off the left. It's nothing too major since most of your shot is right there around the turkey paper. But I do think that when we tested these previously through the Carlson's Longbeard 568 choke, we did see a little bit tighter of an overall pattern. So it seems like so far these might prefer a touch more open choke. Maybe something like a 570 might be the key for these. Either way, this is still absolutely a 40-yard capable pattern, and it would look great for the person that prefers a little more leeway and a little more even of a pattern over something that's super screaming tight. And these shells do seem to have a touch less recoil than your average modern TSS 20 gauge turkey shell, so this could also be a decent youth combo as well. Give them a little bit more wiggle room to work with, but you still have those TSS pellets in there to fill in the gaps from the 6s, and you can get a little bit more range out of them if you absolutely needed to. So overall today, it's not a bad pattern. It's just not anything super screaming tight or anything super special to write home about either necessarily. It's a decent pattern that would get the job done, and a 20 gauge shell that uses lead pellets for turkey is pretty tricky at the best of times. So ultimately, that's not really too bad at the end of the day. If it's what I had, yeah, I would absolutely hunt with it. And I would be killing turkeys out to 40 or 45 yards with it all day long, no doubt about it. So I think it did about what I expected it to. Maybe I was hoping for a touch tighter spread, but now I'm curious to see what these will do through a 570, maybe the tight wad or something that I've got, and that might be the ticket for these. Either way, absolutely a usable combination, especially for somebody that prefers a little bit more open of a spread with a little bit more leeway and a little more even of a pattern to work with. And here's the wad from that shell. Definitely nothing too special about it. I am not a hand loader or reloader, but I believe these are some variant of the ballistic product low bore contact wad. Somebody can confirm that if they do know more, but they do have these ribs up the side here. And usually these are pretty good wads through just about any choke you put them through. They're really not too picky. But since this is a blend shells can be a little more choosy with what choke they run. But as for the wad itself, nothing out of the ordinary, nothing stuck down in there. Might have had one pedal open a touch farther, but ultimately nothing I'm really too concerned about here. Alright y'all, well, what did you think about that result right there? I would say it's a decent pattern. It would absolutely get the job done all day long. We have seen a touch better out of it through that 568 Longbeard choke, so we know we can get a little tighter out of them, but these shells in general, being a blend shell, have been a little bit choosy on what choke or constriction you run. Once you find a good choke for them, then they give you a really nice pattern, and you're definitely gonna pretty much know when you find that choke. This is not a bad pattern by any means, but we have seen a little better, and I do want to try that 570 tight wad that I've got and see what happens, because that might be the key here, since blend shells in general, regardless of brand, can be a little bit finicky sometimes. Either way, for somebody that prefers a little bit more even of a spread with a little more leeway or a little lighter recoil, then that shell is absolutely going to get the job done, and it would make a decent little kind of all-around shell as well. You could turkey hunt with that, you could do some upland hunting or some smaller game hunting, maybe even some pest control around the property, you know, raccoons, groundhogs, that kind of thing. You've got the TSS pellets and the lead pellets in there, so you can't really do waterfowl stuff with it, but it would be a decent kind of all-around option other than that. But leave all your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these Salt Creek cold turkey blend shells, and if so, what kind of results have you seen? Is that a pattern or a combo you would hunt with, or would you prefer to see it a little more condensed down than that, or would you just stick to lead or TSS individually? And what other choke combos do you want to see us run those shells through? Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All that information will be in the description down below if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.